straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hi, good evening and welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. Now, he's one of my favorite characters in football. He makes watching the sport rather enjoyable. Many wait for his press conferences for those one-liners or confident swagger of thought that could make you forget the result of the match. There are a lot of things special about this one, but AS Roma unfortunately didn't think so beyond 2 seasons, that is. You know whom we are talking about. Jose Mourinho is sacked by Roma. What were the reasons for them to sack the special one? And we tell you why this was a misfit from day one. And speaking of the special one and a vision, we get you a sneak peek of an exclusive interview with one man who believes he's the one who can lead Indian football revolution. No, not Sunil Chhetri, but football coach Igor Stimac and the Indian hockey team is 1 win away from a historic Olympics berth. We get you exclusive reactions from the happy camp. All of that and more coming your way. But first, all the headlines on Sports 360. To start with chess, in a historic first, Indian sensation R. Pragyananda has become India's #1 chess player. As per live ratings yesterday, he overhauled Vishy Anand. In fact, the 18-year-old is only the second Indian after Vishwanathan Anand to defeat world champion. And this time he beat Ding Liren at the 2024 Tata Steel Chess Tournament. In cricket, Bangladesh all-rounder Nasir Hussain has been banned from international cricket for 2 years. The International Cricket Council, or the ICC, has found Hussain guilty of corruption. The 32-year-old admitted to 3 charges connected with breaching ICC's anti-corruption code of conduct. Hussain was found guilty of accepting an Apple iPhone 12 as a gift in September last year. New Zealand beat Pakistan by 45 runs in a T20 match yesterday. Finn Allen scored a century to help the Black Caps set a target of 225 runs in 20 overs. Pakistan's Babar Azam led the chase and scored 58 runs, but his heroics fell well short. The men in green finished the chase at 179 runs with 3 wickets in hand. New Zealand have now clinched the 5-match T20 series against Pakistan. They've taken an unassailable lead, in fact, 3-0. On to tennis, the updates from Australian Open. World #2 Carlos Alcaraz advanced to the second round of the Australian Open. Spaniard Alcaraz beat Frenchman Richard Gasquet 7-6, 6-1, 6-2 in straight sets. The match lasted 2 hours and 20 minutes. Alcaraz next faces Italy's Lorenzo Sonego tomorrow. And in a major shock in the women's singles draw, unseeded Mira Andreeva stunned world #6 Ons Jabeur in the second round. 16-year-old Andreeva dominated Jabeur 6-love, 6-2 in straight sets. With the win, Russian's Andreeva will play her next match this Friday. Now, the world is a place where nothing is black or white. It's all a bit in between. The shades of grey weaves through every facet of life, and this universal truth finds its resonance in football as well. The sport has its own mix of characters. Take, for example, this man that you see behind me, Jose Mourinho, the special one. Now, he is one of the reasons fans come to watch the sport. The unique quirkiness is what people love about him on and off the field, and his success stories, of course, precede him. But clearly, this was too much for AS Roma to handle and deal with. He was the manager of the club, AS Roma, I say was, a club that plays in Serie A. It's an Italian football league. Yesterday, the club parted ways with him. And I'm putting it mildly, they sacked him. No transition period. The termination was with immediate effect. Let me quote what Roma said. They said, AS Roma can confirm that Jose Mourinho and his coaching staff will leave the club with immediate effect. Further updates on the new first team coaching staff will follow immediately. Further updates will follow immediately or imminently. Roma actually meant it when they said it. It took a lot of people by surprise, including Jose Mourinho. Some reports even claimed the club owners held a meeting for just around 25 minutes before he was let go of. And shortly thereafter came the announcement of the new manager.
Muy bien, ahora antes de que finalice el acto, Daniele, te pedimos que te quedes un ratito.
The man that you saw, all smiles, shaking hands with all the players, greeting them and being welcomed with a lot of love, was Daniele De Rossi. He's a former player of the same club. So the chronology of events then that came to this almost makes it appear it was decided way before. We'll not dwell on that speculation right away, but seems like they might have overlooked a tiny fact that under the same Portuguese manager, Roma achieved historic wins. Although they were few and far in between, it would seem. Roma won the European Conference League in 2021-22, landed them as runners-up of the Europa League in 2023, just last year. That brings me to the question, were they right in letting Jose Mourinho go? As disappointing as it is for Mourinho fans, the answer perhaps is a yes. For the club owners themselves, to understand this, you have to go past the club on-field performances alone. He wasn't fired because, according to reports, he fell out with some of the players or because of the 7 send-offs in the 2 seasons or the many red cards. But probably there is some indication in all of that as well of the possible frustration that was building up in Jose Mourinho himself, a man who's used to managing big teams and big players, all of which AS Roma is not. So one of the reasons could be owing to the club spending a bomb over the last 2 seasons. Roma reportedly splurged close to $430 million combined in 2020 and 2023. Reports suggest they sustained heavy losses in 2020-21 and were one of the highest spenders on transfers in Europe. It reached to a point where they violated UEFA's financial regulations and were forced to restrict their spending. Their initial gamble was spending on the squad and, of course, Jose Mourinho as well, who happens to be the second highest paid manager in Serie A. So naturally, for the money being pumped in, they expected consistent performances that would fetch them the money. Instead, they finished 6th in their first 2 seasons. Roma is languishing now in the 9th spot in Serie A. They've just managed 1 win out of the last 6 league games. This Sunday, they suffered a 1-3 loss to AC Milan, who happened to be one of their main rivals. Now they are 22 points away from the top. Last week, Roma fell out of Coppa Italia as well. So this is the club sort of getting rid of him after a hurricane of losses, a rather dismal run for the club. Behind the scenes, the club's decision might seem like it's all about poor performances on the field, lack of deliverance and frustration seeping in. But if you take a peek behind the story, as we've said, there is, of course, a financial plot hiding. Money matters. Maybe Mourinho could have pulled it all off, created a stunning turnaround. He managed champion sides in the past. He's a proven winner. But that would have given him the leverage, given him more bargaining power. And Roma, of course, couldn't have that. So a smart move to appease fans by roping in one of their own as managers as well. Smart play, especially with the fixtures, the kind of fixtures that are coming up. They are at the home ground, Verona on Jan 20th and Cagliari on February 6th. So they would fancy their chances here and from here probably see an upswing. That brings me to the last question. What legacy did Mourinho leave behind and what's the bigger picture here for the special one from this point on? And this sudden change might actually be a blessing in disguise. He's a unique coach. Not many understand him quite that well and get his uncanny approach, but the rest sort of sense where the magic lies. He's meant for the big and more imminent and prominent clubs. Consider it like a whale that was stuck in a pond but has been finally freed and will navigate the vast ocean of opportunities. Mourinho is known for his outspokenness, yet sometimes controversial demeanor. After Roma were knocked out of Coppa Italia, for example, this is what he said.
The Roma fans are the most incredible I have ever seen. The coach is called Jose Harry Mourinho Potter and he raises expectations. We are fighting a very difficult battle, but nobody will tell us we can't fight against Milan. We will be there.
Now, perhaps he was implying fans to lower their expectations, or maybe he was referring to the fact that his magic touch is yet to be seen. His reign at Roma might have ended rather swiftly to take shape, but wouldn't be long though before he finds himself another gig. What a colourful, glorious past he's had. String of strong European clubs that he's managed like Porto, Chelsea, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Manchester United. Achievements, of course, all well documented and recorded. So our final takeaway from the Roma Jose Mourinho saga. Though the special one did do a trick for them, the mind and the pockets do not run that deep here, to continue giving that long rope. And somewhere, people realized that Mourinho's ways were an utter misfit for Roma from the very start. All right, the Indian football team is currently in Qatar playing in the AFC Asian Cup. After a wobbly start against Australia, Sunil Chhetri and his men are now even hungrier to punch above their weight. India's next hurdle is Uzbekistan, who they play tomorrow. That's an encounter where India will need to secure at least 1 point to stay alive in the competition. It's a Herculean task, but the team isn't short on confidence. Now we delve into the intricacies of their game with someone who stands at the helm of affairs, the coach of the Indian football team, Igor Stimac. He's been in the news for all the right and some wrong reasons too. He speaks to us about his tenure, all the ups and downs he's experienced, the bond he shares with Captain Sunil Chhetri, and when can Indian fans possibly see the Blue Tigers in a FIFA World Cup. It's all lined up after the show. Tune in at 8 p.m. on Firstpost. But of course, here's a bit of a teaser. And it's a long way from where we are today. But having said that, we always say it isn't easy being a foreign coach, a non-Indian coach in the country. What has been your biggest learning as a coach here so far?
I love my work here. There is one very big reason for that, because I work with very honest and hardworking young men. Their readiness to do whatever they ask to do and follow and do their best.
Relationship between a coach and a captain, a bond, is very, very crucial for any team going forward. Describe yours with Sunil Chhetri.
I mean, with Sunil Sandesh and Gurpreet is a little bit different than with others, you know. But my feelings towards any of them is at the same level, you know. I'm trying to be the best father they can have, the best friend they can get while they are here, and even when we are not together. I'm here to give them advices.
One word, if I had to ask to describe you or your coaching method or mantra, what would that be?
Tough.
Now, the Indian hockey team is one win away from a spot in the Paris Olympics, from a shock defeat in their tournament opener to marshalling their wits and getting the campaign back on track. India's city of Ranchi has seen a spirited comeback from the Indian team. They have made it to the semi-final of the FIH Olympic qualifiers, where it's a higher-ranked opponent waiting to stop them in their tracks. If India manages to push for another win on Thursday, they will successfully qualify for their third straight Olympics in 44 years. The first time they made it to the Olympics since 1980 was in 2016. So this will be the third time, in fact, that they would get here. The journey has only been upwards here on. Is it going to be another historic finish here in Ranchi?
The qualifiers did not start as planned. India were handed a shock defeat by Team USA in their first group game. Grouped with Italy, New Zealand and USA, India had to get their act together, and rather rapidly. The host country just about managed to bounce back against New Zealand, which kept their hopes in the qualifiers alive.
बिल्कुल सिर्फ न्यूजीलैंड से ही नहीं है, फर्स्ट मैच से ही था कि हम फर्स्ट मैच जब खेलने आए थे यूएसए के साथ, तो पता था कि यूएसए इंप्रूव कर रहा है, बट अगेन हमारा फोकस खुद पे था और फर्स्ट हाफ शायद हम अच्छा नहीं खेले थे और उसके बाद हमें काफ़ी चांस मिले. अगर शायद वो हम यूटिलाइज करते तो स्कोर कुछ दूसरा रहता, बट उसके बाद हमने यही डिसाइड किया था कि न्यूजीलैंड मैच शायद हमारा इस टूर्नामेंट के सबसे ज़्यादा प्रेशर वाला मैच था, क्योंकि वो मैच जीतना हर हालत में जरूरी था. अगर किसी भी तरह वो मैच नहीं जीतते तो शायद हम टूर्नामेंट से बाहर थे. और उस मैच में शायद सबने एज ए टीम अपना काम किया है. कोई भी ऐसा नहीं था कि एक्सट्रीमली गुड है और कोई ये नहीं था कि बहुत डाउन है. तो वही हम डिसाइड करके आए थे कि जो भी है हमें ग्राउंड से बाहर जीत के निकलना है. मैच बुरा खेले अच्छा खेले, और वही हमारा नेक्स्ट इटली के साथ भी वही रहा था, और शायद वही माइंडसेट हमारा नेक्स्ट मैचेस में काम आएगा.
The game against Italy was critical, but India were also fortunate to be slotted in post the match between USA and New Zealand. So they could know what they needed to do to cross over to the semi-finals. If New Zealand had won that match, the pressure would have been on India to win, and win big, to win on goal difference. They were a little lucky with the result going the other way, which meant they had no pressure playing Italy. And it was a near flawless performance, with Salima Tete, Udita, Navneet Kaur and Deepika scoring the goals. Coach Yannick Schopman, who is not one to show too many emotions, couldn't hold back the joy after the win.
Well, look, this tournament has been a roller coaster so far. You don't want to lose your first game because that's in a pool of 4, very close to not making it, and then all the scenarios play through your head. And to be fair, I think we needed to come from far. And I said to Savage just now walking up to the press conference also yesterday before the game, my mind was going 100 miles an hour every way, every scenario. What if? And I also knew we just had to play. And I think that's my focus in that game. And I was really, really happy when we scored a 1-0, but then I kind of knew what was going to happen. So I think what we did really well is how we played that second half, especially, and how the girls were all trying to do their own job well and not being too frustrated with whatever was happening, because we did have some issues against Italy. So yeah, I'm just happy that we're here now. We fought hard to be here, and now it starts again. Like, that's how I see it. It starts again. Yeah, we have a new game, we have a new opportunity, and we're going to fight for it.
What's definitely going to hold India in good stead going into the all-important knockout match will be their intent in the game against Italy. They were favourites to win, but it was the manner that they executed that was admirable, not letting up on the intensity, adding 2 more goals in the last quarter to close out the match 5-1. Standing in their way in the semi-finals is a tough side, Germany. They are ranked 5th in the world, and India lost to Germany the last time they played at the Five Nations tournament in December 2023.
जर्मनी के जैसे ऑलरेडी कोच ने भी बताया पहले कि वो इंडिविजुअल बहुत अच्छे हैं और काफी एक्सपीरियंस प्लेयर हैं पूरी टीम में, बट हमारे लिए यही रहेगा कि हम 1v1 अपना अच्छे से रखें, चाहे वो अटैक में है या डिफेंस में है, और एज ए टीम हमारा ज्यादा फोकस डिफेंस पे रहेगा, और जो अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलेगी उसमें हम एज ए टीम क्या बेस्ट कर सकते हैं, वो हमारी जो स्ट्रेंथ है उस पे खेलेंगे.
Basically, India has 2 shots at a spot in the Olympics. The direct and more tough route is to beat Germany. The more nervy passage would mean beating the loser of the other semi-final between USA and Japan, teams India have lost to in the recent past. But that's something to think of on another day. Next up is Germany and getting on that flight to Paris.
We're at the end of the show. Time for Last Serve. Now, a trailer for every movie is eagerly consumed. It gives us a taste of what's to follow or expect when the movie releases. And these days, a jersey reveal does just that for any team's campaign. Here's what the host country at the Paris Olympics would look like, and they walk the ramp for the special teaser. Quite exciting times lying ahead. Waiting to see how all the other teams would look as they walk during that opening ceremony there. Many months left for that now, but that does it here on Firstpost. Thanks so much for watching. I'll again see you tomorrow. Till then, bye-bye.